Hello.
Hello.
We're back.
Gosh, it's been a little
Right?
bit.
We haven't seen you all in a year.
That is first time in a year.
So it has been an interesting start to our 2025.
That is a good way to put that.
And we're here. We're here and we're smiling and some people are watching from Chicago.
Well, hello.
It's probably just as cold and gloomy in Chicago as it is here.
It's not nice out right now.
No. Nothing is pretty out there. And it has been frigidly cold. So.
Yeah, and then you add that wind in there. It's just like, oof. But
I've been
there's
watching
no fires.
David bundle up like a little snowman in the morning, putting his little snow pants on and his heated jacket because he's been working on like high-rise buildings that have no walls
yet.
It's cold up there. So
I'm
like, can you drive?
It's kind of like that kid from the Christmas Story. He's walking.
That's what he looks like.
Too funny. Yeah, it's definitely been a cold start.
For sure.
But, you know.
It's winter.
It is winter. And, you know, we don't have fires here, which, holy crow, any of our friends that are out there, I wish you the best in getting out of your trouble zones and finding shelter and all of that. And you definitely are in our thoughts because, holy crow.
I know, the wildfires.
We were watching that last night and it's just like.
Yeah. And the unexpected snow in unexpected places. So.
Yep, it's been an interesting weather start.
Yeah, Mother Nature is mixing it up a little.
just a little bit, but lots of ice covering the sidewalks. Yeah, It's not been too bad with that, but I don't know. We're supposed to get snow the next little bit here, so we'll see how much.
Yeah.
I think they finally got the plow connected to the new truck, so hopefully we're prepared. Otherwise, I might be stuck.
Yeah.
Not sure if I could get out if we get too much. So.
Yeah. I have missed most of the snow so far this year, so we'll see.
Yeah, I don't think he's plowed. We haven't had enough that we had to plow. We shoveled the walk for something, but it hasn't been bad. So I guess can't complain. I mean, you can always bundle up more, but that's cold. I'm glad I'm not Dave because that would not be.
I know.
He's a lot like me. He gets cold easy like I do. So it's.
Yeah, his heated jacket does definitely help, but yeah, he's all nice and bundled up in my little snowman.
Yeah. Yep. I'm picturing literally the little kid from
I know, it's
from
exactly. Yeah, we were having the discussion yesterday about, like when you go outside and you get all bundled up and because it's cold and then you come inside and all of a sudden you're like instantly roasting.
You're sweating.
And
and
then
you
if
get
you have
wet,
to go
and then
back
you have to go back out and you're wet from the sweat. And the poor UPS driver, he's bringing in all these boxes and I'm like, no coat. Like, yeah, there's a hard balance, isn't it? And he's like, yeah, it's, if you wear the coat, then you sweat and then you go out and it's worse. And then it's, it's, it's a lot. So happy new year, Miss Shirley, and to everyone else. Yeah. So we thought, with the cold, at least around here, and sitting inside, it's a great time to have this hobby, right?
Right.
It's a great time of the year for that. And creating new things is always a fun thing. So that's kind of where the software concept came in is, maybe you have some time now to sit in front of your computer and play a little bit.
Right. Well, it's also a good time to make maybe some plans for your year about being a little more proactive with your computer and your software. And I know a lot of people are like, pry yourself away from these things, but a lot of us don't use the software and our computer a lot.
Very often. And then when we do, we struggle because it's not a muscle memoried kind of thing. You have to figure it out each time.
Yeah.
And we definitely get a lot of phone calls from many of you guys that, how do I unzip a file? How do I get a file to my USB? How do I, all those different kinds of things. So there's definitely something to be said for taking some time and learning those basics because it shouldn't be a stressful thing. And we, of course, don't want it to be for you. So
no, and I totally get it. And every time we've been talking about like how things keep updating. At least this software isn't that bad. My other software,
Don't do that.
I'm so sorry.
Oh my
I
goodness.
feel like every time I open up the software, there's an update. They've moved an icon.
Why did you need to
I
do
know
that?
what I'm looking for. Why can't it be in the left-hand corner anymore? Why is it now in the middle of the right-hand side?
It definitely gets very confusing when not only do they update, but they don't actually tell you what they updated. So
Right.
things are just different. And you're like, okay, couldn't you have given me a list of what the changes were? So there's definitely been a lot of that. We are definitely feeling that with like our website software and our register system software. They throw an update out almost every day, I feel like, at least once a week, minimum of once a week.
Yep.
Something changes and they don't tell us what.
No, it's a surprise.
It's a surprise. We go to look for something. We're like, oh, that's not there. Where is it now? And so, yeah, we actually do know what we're doing. Unfortunately, other people are messing with us.
That's right.
So
there's somebody on the back end turning that button on and off.
turning that button on. Yes, we were joking and saying, it's this person's job to turn everything off on Mondays, and it's that person's job to turn everything back on Wednesdays, and then they just repeat that each time, so it totally messes with you. But yeah, it's definitely, computers can be a challenge.
Yes.
And with everything being online and integrated systems these days,
No choice.
we don't. It's not like they say, do you want to install this update? It just happens. So fortunately, with our embroidery programs, we do have that choice. In general, we would recommend that you do any update that comes out because they don't come out every day by any stretch. So, right. Absolutely. So we are going to start with some real basics, and then we're going to talk about some shapes and some fun little hidden gems that are there. So hello to Dee and Roxanne. Thanks for joining us today.
Look,
why does that always pop up when my screen goes on? I always get things. Oh, there's another one. Got any more? Got any more? Got a little better?
Yeah.
Or was that actually worse?
I think it's good.
I think we're good.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is PE11, which would be the same as palette 11, all except one little thing, which is the scan and cut feature is in the Brother software. It is not in the Babylock software, which makes sense. But if you have a prior version, the basics are still going to be the same.
Yeah.
They move the buttons on us.
Tweak it.
Sometimes we'll get an icon instead of the word and things like that. But the basic features are still going to be there. But there are going to be some things that are only in the upper ones. So to start with, let's talk about this beautiful white space. Is that as white for everybody as it is for us?
That's really white over there, isn't it? Like, why?
I don't know.
Why isn't the gray showing?
I don't know. So there's a white rectangle here in the center. I'm just going to kind of slowly trace it so you guys can see my mouse moving. That is your workspace. So that is where the information is going to come into. And that is the size of my embroidery field for whichever hoop that you select. So in this program, which again, we're talking palette or PE design, you want to select your finished size before you start playing.
Yeah.
Because you want to build into the hoop is kind of the thought process here. So to do that, we're going to go in the upper left-hand corner of the screen and you have a flower. Different numbers, 9, 10, 11, have different flowers, but there's all a flower up there. Everybody has that. That's kind of like your file button in Microsoft Word or something like that. So when you click on that, you're going to get a drop-down menu. Wow, that is really hard to see. I hope they can see that better than I can. Okay. And about halfway down, there is this guy, and it's called Design Settings. When we choose that, we'll get a pop-up in the center. And what that is going to tell you is your field, and you can choose which machine type. So on the upper right, the one on the left would be your standard embroidery machine, flatbed, sewing combo, all of those kinds of things. So sorry, pardon. The one on the right is supposed to be a multi-needle. Oh, you can see that.
Yeah, I think
it's still very white.
It's still very white, yeah.
Okay, thank you for checking. So the one on the right there is for a multi-needle. Does it matter which one you have? I do recommend paying attention to that, but if you accidentally saved a multi-needle file, you could still use it as long as the hoop was relevant in your flatbed machine.
Yes.
So, but it is absolutely a good idea to do that. But if you have forgotten, as long as the hoop side is correct, you should be fine. The hoop size is right below that. So there's going to be a drop down. We're going to click that arrow and it's going to drop down. And this is where you can select. So I'm already on 5x7. So if I go up, I have 4x4 and 4x7 above that. And then these are all of the hoop sizes that are available for a flatbed embroidery machine. So if I were to choose a multi-needle, you can see that the picture over here in the center on the left changes and my hoops change. So what hoops are available to me are different. Some of them are
very similar,
but there is differences. So for instance, there is a 7 7/8 by 14, which is the largest hoop for a 10 needle.
Yes.
There is a 14 by 14. That of course is not going to be anywhere on your flatbed.
Right.
And that is only available to be used on the 10 needle as well. So all of the different options are going to show up in here. And so this is where you'll want to select. So I think the majority of the people watching are probably using flatbeds. So I'm just going to stick with that for the moment.
Yeah. Sherry asked what we're working with PE11 or palette 11.
So that, yes.
From Brother or Babylock.
I'm so sorry, pardon. So I'm going to switch back to that 5x7 just so that you guys can see that. If I know I'm going to be working in a landscape design, so it's going to be wider than it is tall, I do have a 90-degree option. I can turn my workspace. Nice, so I'm not turning my head and trying to figure out what the heck I'm doing. I can actually lay it all out that way. And it does show you that the top of your hoop would be then to the left. So you can see that little red arrow there. So you would know that would be the top of the hoop. Does that matter? Well, when you're actually putting it in the hoop, it does, but you can always rotate it in your machine if you put it the wrong way. So not like, holy crap, I have to stop what I'm doing.
Exactly.
Changeable. So once you have all of that, we can just go ahead and hit OK in the bottom, and then our field on screen would change. Later on, if we have time, we'll come back and we'll talk about the stuff that's great out here.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll see how things are going. So I did change this to horizontal. So you saw that changed on screen. Didn't actually change the size. It's just flipped it.
It's also a little easier for you guys to see.
And then it gives a bigger field anyways for you guys to see a little bit in there. So in this program, there is a slew of things that are included.
Right.
One of the things that Brother and Babylock do very well are their fonts.
Yeah.
The built-in fonts stitch out beautifully. They do a really, really good job. And that includes the BES softwares as well. But when you go into fonts, you have your standard fonts, you have small fonts, monogramming, and then you even have some of the decorative pieces that are in the machines. So there's a lot to choose from in here. And this is something that a lot of people, that's why they bought softwares, because they want to add words to different designs, whether they're not necessarily creating designs, but they want to be able to manipulate them and add them easier than at the machine. So a lot of people will get started with this. So fonts is a wonderful thing, and they're pretty straightforward, which is great. But if I went through all of that, we'd be way past 4:30. So we're going to not talk about font today.
Maybe next week we can do fonts.
Maybe we could. I feel like we have done that.
Maybe we could talk about installing a font that's not built into the machine.
You mean for someone like me that has a font fetish? I might have a few of those. So we could absolutely, I might be able to load another one. I might have to delete one to load another one, but we can absolutely we could play with some fonts later. So to get into your fonts, you're just going to click on that letter A. You'll get this drop down, and then you can choose what type of font that you're going to do. What we're going to talk mostly about today is the Shapes tool. And the Shapes tool is right next to that. And when you click on that, you get another drop down. So you have the ability to make an outline. You have the ability to actually get a pen and draw your own lines. And that would be a little bit more like your manual punch, which is going to be right below that. And then you have the actual shapes that are built in. And these shapes you can manipulate and draw to be the size that you want them to be. I don't know that I want to end up with an airplane, but you can just see that it's, I have a little airplane that's hovering next to my crosshair because that's the shape that I collected.
Yeah, she's
And
collecting shapes
I collected
too.
it and I selected it. How about that? And so when I drag my mouse, I can manipulate how big and all of that is. Is it shift? Nope, not that one. Oh, see, I was playing a lot. That's an interesting looking airplane, isn't it? So when you let go at that shape, it's going to give you that size with that shape. And it's going to always remember whatever your last stitches were. So for my outline, which is this top guy here, that is the last thing I was doing was a candle wicking stitch. And then I have a standard fill stitch inside. It's very, very easy to change any of these. When we click on that drop down, we can change, I don't want an outline at all, or I want a zigzag, which would look more like your satin stitch. Single stitching, triple stitching, motif stitch, which you can get kind of a candle wicking out of that as well. And we're going to definitely talk about motif stitches here in a few minutes. There's the stem stitch, candle witching,
Candle witching. Ooh,
candle witching. Yes, we're going to
like
have
it.
a seance or something, I guess. So anyway, you can just simply select. So I'm just going to change that to a zigzag, and now you can see it looks like a standard satin stitch. So very, very easy to change the stitch type. And
so Sherry is asking, will this program work with a 1700? So really briefly, embroidery software is multi-machine and multi-brand. So it almost doesn't matter what software you're using because all software gives you the ability to save designs in multiple formats.
Yep.
The advantage of this is that the native save format is PES, which is the native format that our machines read. So we can open and close those designs easily. If we were saving or opening other brands of designs, we would, instead of doing file open, we import them a little bit differently, but they will work. And you just have to, when you're working with any machine, the only thing you have to pay attention to is the file extension and the size of the design.
The size of the design that you're exporting out.
Yep.
So for instance, yes, it will work for your 1700. Your largest hoop size is a 6 by 10. Actually, it's 6 1/4 by 10 1/4, but we're going to go with 6 by 10 because that's easier to say. So by using that, you would want to make sure that you're only selecting a 6 by 10 or smaller hoop for the field that we just talked about a few minutes ago. So when you export, it will always work in your machine.
Right, because if you were to make it bigger, and you, even though you're saving all of the things correctly, if you were to take that to your machine would not read the file.
It probably wouldn't even show up on your screen.
Because it knows that it can't embroider.
It's too large for your machine.
Yeah, when you save a design, there's information about the sizing that goes along with the information, and the machine recognizes that that file is too big.
So the super simple answer is yes, it will work. Yeah. The reason it will work is because it's very versatile. We can export to not only Brother and Babylock file extensions, but we can do any other as well. So it has a lot of features that are in this program. We could probably talk for the next 4 months and do software every week and still not cover everything that you could do in this. I mean, it's just, it is a very full encompassed program.
Yes.
We're just going to do some fun little things that a lot of people don't know are in there.
Easy stuff.
So easy stuff. So I'm going to get rid of an airplane because, like I said, I don't actually want to work in an airplane. I just wanted to show you they have some different things in here. So I'm just going to choose, let's start with a square. So when we drag that out, there's that square. And because I had a zigzag stitch last time, I have a zigzag around the outside. So I can completely remove. So if I want my fill stitch to not be there at all, I just want the outline, I can do that.
Yep. And the size of your design is, so if you're wondering how big you drew it, it's down at the bottom. You might not be able to see that, but it's way down
here. I'm hovering over my weather, sorry. So it says, I think you might be able to read that. It says width 2.38 by height 2.32. So I'm almost square. I did really close.
Pretty good.
But the thing is that you can literally draw whatever you want.
Right.
So in using the built-in shapes to do that makes life really easy.
Yeah.
So could I draw a square? Yep. Would it be that square? Nope. You know, so all of those things make a difference. And why not use the stuff that makes life easy?
Right.
So.
And even though this is kind of auto digitizing, it's not like taking a picture and having the machine create stitches for you. These are basically shapes that were pre-built into the embroidery machine, so they consistently come out very well digitized because they were designed to do this. Whereas when we take a picture and we use an auto digitizing button, it's a picture.
It's kind of a crapshoot.
Right, because no one could go and pre-program that, because we don't know what picture you're going to put in there.
Right.
So these are pre-programmed to work all the time, kind of like fonts in our sewing
kind
machine.
Of like the fonts are already there.
Shapes.
You have the ability to adjust them and kind of resize and tweak and arc and different things. But the base of that design is already there, where the base of these designs are already here as well.
Absolutely.
So just
Carol.
hello. So just like your Word, Excel, all of those things, your little shortcut cheats for those will work in here as well. So I have this shape selected. So you can see the little black squares there. If it's not selected, there's nothing there. And whatever I'm doing isn't connected to anything. So I have to select an item so that I can edit that item.
Exactly.
All right. So sometimes it's really hard. You have maybe a really thin line and it's really hard to select that. So I'm going to show you another way to select if you can't click on it and get those handles. So if you go over all the way to the left of the screen, all of your different color stops will show up here. And it will be separated by color stop. So right now I only have the one, which is why that's all that's there. So if I click on it, I get a little red line that kind of rotates and moves.
Like dancing ants.
Yep, they're marching 2 by 2, hurrah, hurrah. So they're just marching their way around outside of that box. That's not selected. You don't see those little black squares that are on each of the corners and the centers. So this still wouldn't get me where I want to go. But now that I've selected my item, I can right click on my mouse. I'm still over on the left-hand side of the screen there. I can right click, I get a selection box here, and I just hit select objects. So if you're trying to pick one out and maybe it's buried underneath something, but you need to get to it and you just can't click on it, that's a way that you can do that. You can go over to the left-hand side, find the one that you're looking for, click on it, right click, and then hit select.
And you know you found it if you got the little red ants marching around.
Yep. So the red line shows, yep, I got the one that I wanted if there was 20 on the screen.
Yes.
And then you right click, select object, and that's when you get the handles. So with those, I can resize. All right. I could make it just a little wider if I wanted to. So I'm still not quite. Okay, now I'm square. All right, so if you wanted to worry about that, you could do so. All right, so the ones in the middle will only work that side. The ones in the corners will work all 4 sides equally. So it's nice there. I also do have the ability to rotate. I can do that. I have my favorite button here. I can undo that. And you do also have a rotate flip button here. So if you want a specific degree, not just randomly moving things, we can rotate to the right. Not that you can see that because it's exactly the same now.
Because you made a perfect square.
I did make a perfect square. That's not very helpful, but you can see that there. So you guys know what it means when you rotate to the right or left, whatnot. You can absolutely see that. So those are some very easy editing tools. How to select something, how to rotate something that you can't see how it rotates. You know what would happen if I mirror imaged it? Nothing.
Nothing.
Sorry. A little humor. Because if you can't laugh at yourself, what are you going to do, right?
Like all those videos where when people are talking and they say something and then all of a sudden you have a song in your head. So you said to the right and then I started singing.
Yep. We're going to start dancing here next. So
shuffle over here.
Better than the last song we had in my head.
Right.
All right. So what I would like you guys to notice is because I have that square on here, I have a little box at the top that says shapes. that shapes tool is super important. You get some other things available to you when you have a shape on your work surface.
Right.
If I don't have a shape here, I don't have a shapes box, which means I can't click on it.
I know, it's really hard to click without that box.
There's nothing there to click. So if you are wanting to play with some of those other hidden gems that we're going to show you here in just a few minutes, you have to have a shape on the screen. Now you can delete it afterwards,
right?
But you have to put something on there to get to these other fun little guys.
The nerve.
The nerve, I know. So if I click on shapes, this will be kind of your main working area. What do I want my stitch to be? We can play with that stitch a little bit more on the right-hand side. I can turn that fill on or off. I can actually do concentric stitches. This is so many different options in here. It's absolutely amazing and how easy it is to do it as well.
And so the top row is basically the outline of the shape, and the second row is all of the different ways that you can fill the shape.
Yep. So if you read that very top line, it says not sewn parentheses region. If you have a machine with Design Center, you would recognize that there's a region properties and there's a line property. That's the same thing that's happening in here. So you do definitely have lots of different options. There are some pretty cool ones. It's just a matter of what kinds of things that you want. Just like anything else, if you push the buttons and change things so you can see what's happening, you can find a lot of really neat things that you didn't necessarily know were there. So this is not actually that hidden, but a lot of people never bother to go in there and look. So give it a go.
Back of an eye.
It is kind of sort of a little bit. So I'm actually going to undo my fill again. I just wanted to show you that. And like I said, the top one here, it says not sewn line. And that is where I said that line property. So that's where those two different guys come in. On the left edge of this, we have a little spool of thread. And that spool of thread actually indicates what color you want your thread to be. So I could change that here, but because one's just never enough, I could also go over to the right-hand side, click my color tab up here, and then I have the ability to go through and change different thread types. So, not types, brands. So I could choose a different brand, which would, of course, give me a different range of color options. So let's say I wanted this one to be blue. I could just click on blue, it will automatically happen. I could do the same thing up at that spool at the top. So both of those places will do that, but it's nice and simple and very straightforward, which I like. It is one of my pet peeves. I don't have very many when it comes to the Dime software, but changing colors in there, it's always like, do I right click or do I left click? Oh crap, I clicked on the wrong one. And then I go back and I'm like, wait, which one did I do last time? And I never can, I always get it wrong.
Right, because you think you just click and it should just change.
And it's not. So it's always, I love how simple it is to change colors in here. You don't realize how wonderful that simplicity is for you. So the other things that are across the top here, we have color, we have import. So we talked about importing designs very, very briefly. I can't open anything other than a PES.
Right.
I have to import if it is a Husqvarna or any of those other types of files. I have to import them. So I can import them through here, and there's also another place. Imagine that, there's more than one spot. But that is an easy, quick way to do that. If I had font on screen, this would be my text editing tools where I could, again, arc them, make them go in a line. I could make them go in a straight line. I could justify them, all of those things. We have very, very easy playing power in here. But I do want to very quickly point out the sewing attributes, and that has to do with the stitches that are on the screen. So I can change my zigzag width. So I'm just going to make this obnoxious for a second so that you guys can see, and boom, it would change. So there's no apply, there's no set. When you do it, it happens, which I also kind of like. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I just want it. Never mind.
It should also cheer you on. Like, good job, make it bigger. If you don't like what you saw and you don't have a clue what you had it on before, there's that wonderful undo button and it will just go back to whatever you had previously. So undo is definitely your friend. You can also hit the redo button, which is right next to it, which would go back as well. So you could toggle back and forth between
you could
your
toggle
two
which one do I like,
choices.
that kind of thing. You do have the ability to say whether you want a blunted corner or sharp corners when you get to those different things there. So you have some playing power. It's not insanely confusing, which I like. I think it's pretty straightforward. And again, if you don't know what you just did, or you don't like what you just did, you hit undo and it's all good. So density is something we get asked about a lot. There is too dense. That is such a thing. So you definitely don't want to overkill that and end up basically drilling a hole into your fabric because you put so many stitches into one spot. Right. So you definitely can have too much in there. And again, you can change how much is happening. And if you look at the box at the bottom, it's actually changing down here. You can see. So am I going the direction I want? See how the lines are getting closer together or not? So it will actually show you how that is all happening. So I'm just going to go, you can see how that's really spreading out. So now I'm going to have like no coverage.
Now it's a light zigzag.
Now that's not enough, right? So you can play and you can really get an idea of what you're looking for. So I'm just going to undo again. There we go. So that is the very basics of how to alter one of those. I'm going to come back to my shapes tool and I'm going to go to that motif stitch because that's kind of where all the fun's at in here when you're talking about stitches. So this would happen to be the last one that I was using, which is again why it popped up. But over on the right-hand side over here, I have a little manila folder and I can choose from a slew of built-in stitches. Can I make my own?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can make your own.
You can.
And you can save it in the folder that will pop up in here as well. Mm-hmm. Can we bring in stitches?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you bought any of those Babylock
design suites,
mm-hmm. those files, those are motif stitches. Mm-hmm. And so this is where you could save them and add them into your program here as well. Mm-hmm. So the options truly are endless. Right. You have a very large selection of different things here. It's just a matter of what you're looking for. So I'm just going to change. I don't even know, wasn't even paying attention, but I have X's now. Mm-hmm. So I can change the size of my square. I can, just like in Word, I can copy and paste. Mm-hmm. So here you see it's Control-C. That's the same as if you're in Word and you're copying something anywhere on your computer. Right. That you're copying something. It's the same thing. So if I copy that and then I paste that, which is Control-V, if I wanted to use my keyboard, I could use my keyboard, but y'all can't see me using my keyboard. So that's why I'm doing it. And over on the left over here, you see I have two. It doesn't look like I have two because it copied it right on top of the other one. So I'm just going to move it over. Maybe let's do this.
Yeah, that's the thing that sometimes happens on our machines and things like that. People hit like the copy or the duplicate button.
And they didn't realize that it happened because it's right on top of the old one.
Right, because it doesn't offset. And then they're like, wow, there's a lot of stitches in here. And it just restarts.
It just keeps going over and over again.
It does happen. It definitely happens. So you do want to pay attention to that.
Absolutely. So you could make a very simplistic and very fun design by just taking that same shape and changing your motif stitch. So you have a whole bunch of squares that are overlapping and they're going to look different. Mm-hmm. That does not look like a square, but that's okay. So there's lots of different options when it comes to those stitches. And if you do that and you're like, I do not like the way that looked, you can choose something else and then it will change.
More square, yep.
All right. So when it comes to motif stitches, you also have the ability to arrange that motif. So right now, those petals are all flowing this direction. I can actually switch, and now they're going to all flow the other direction. So maybe based on my fabric or whatever, I can really manipulate those different things, which is kind of cool. I can go back and I can add a different type of shape. So maybe I want to mix and match shapes because squares all together are just too simple for me. That's not what I meant to do either, but that's okay. We'll just make that bigger.
This reminds me a lot of the spiral, was it spirograph?
Spirograph.
Right, that we're aging ourselves right
now. Spirograph, you're going to really like what I'm going to show you here in a few minutes. But I can, again, change that motif stitch. And maybe I want to have a candle wicking. And then over here, I can adjust how tight, how much space is between those and what size is the candle witching.
I think from now on, it should just be called
candle witching. I think we're just going to call it candle witching from now on. I like it. Let's just do that. So, and I'm just going to, overlap, and you can continue to overlap and make your own out of hearts.
Like a crazy quilt.
Just a crazy quilt kind of thing. Exactly. But have a whole bunch of different things. So I currently have that circle selected. So I'm going to play with that circle just a little bit. I'm going to make it bigger just so that you guys can see a little bit better. So we're going to just center it. There's also a really cool thing that if you hit Control M, it will center it in your hoop. M stands for the middle of your hoop. I always want that to, of course, Control C is already taken.
Right.
But I'm like, M just doesn't feel right to me, but it stands for middle. So there you go. So one of the other things I want to show you, and I personally think this is a hidden gem. It is fun. It's very simple, and you can do a whole lot of really cool stuff with it. So up at the top, I'm in my shapes tool, which again, I have to have a shape on the screen to get here. Do I have to keep that shape there if I don't want it? Nope. But I have to start with it on there so that I can get this tab. In this tab, all the way over here, we do have an applique wizard. We have a background fill option, which is kind of fun as well. So we could put quilting stitches around things. We could put quilting stitches in things. All kinds of different things. So your background fill is really phenomenal, and your purchase fills or you actually created your own fills will also work in there as well. You can do a patch, but this is not what I wanted. Hang on just a second. That's not the right word. Hold, please. I'm not in the shapes tab. Convert to stitches. I told you to go click it, and then I didn't follow my own directions. And offset lines. Offset lines are kind of fun. You're creating echoes.
Yeah.
So how many echoes do you want? You tell it, and you can do that.
Right.
So again, super simple, but very fun.
Yeah.
And you can really change the way your design looks without really doing anything. And trying to copy and get them all spaced equally, and
it's so hard.
Why do that?
Right.
So offset lines would do that. But the one I really want to talk about is this create a floral pattern. I didn't know this was here.
It doesn't sound like what it is.
Because I don't want a flower.
Right.
I mean, I have no interest in putting a flower on this. It wouldn't go with what I'm doing at all.
Right.
But if you click on it, then you get this pop-up menu.
It should say create spirograph.
It should say create spirograph. It should absolutely say that.
And we would all know what it is.
We would all know exactly what that means. So all of these different parts are actually different quantity of all of what you have in there. So we are in the basic mode. So it gives you like, do you want this? Do you want this? Do you want this?
Yeah.
There's a detailed mode that you can actually get even more specific. So let's just say, you tell it, exactly. So let's just say I like, let's do this one. This has a little bit going on, right? And I say I like that. I can actually, density, we talked briefly about density a few minutes ago. I can actually make less lines. Notice they're all changing. That one kind of looks like a flower when you get way down here. But you can see I can have more or less dependent upon what I want that look to be.
Right.
If I go into detailed mode, not only do I have a density option, but this is going to start
kind of like, yeah,
to change
the
like what it looked like on the other page. So here's what that one looked like. Here's what that one looked like. And now we're starting to get into the crazy going into the middle and that kind of thing. So you can really come in here and say, no, this is how many lines that I want it to be. And even within that, you can then still change the number of squiggles that you're getting. This is super cool.
Yeah.
You could make coasters. Simple, get the colors that your family room, you know, you repaint your family room, you make new coasters. It's all good. You know, but just the threads and doing that. So when I originally was looking at, I was trying to find a way to make a large circular, what I wanted was like a charger, but I wanted to create it. I didn't want to just go buy a charger because that's boring. Who wants to do that? So, and I wanted to use them as placemats because to fit everybody around my table, the placemats are all overlapping and everything.
Oh,
so
sure. Yeah.
I wanted a circle that I could put, and everybody has a placemat.
Yeah.
But it doesn't overlap and get into their neighbor's space.
Right.
So I'm like, that would be really cool. But, you know, I don't have that. I don't have circular designs. How can I create circular designs? and I was shown this, and I was like, oh, I could have some fun with that. So basically, if you like what you see, it adds it around the shape that you have selected. So I'm currently in a 5x7 hoop. I can shrink that and put that back in the middle. I can get rid of my other things if I only want the, or I can mix and match and combine these different things as well. So if I take this guy, which is my candle wicking stitch, I can make that bigger and put it outside the circle if I wanted to. So you can play literally until your heart is content. I'm just going to get rid of the squares for the moment. And then what you can do is you can add in layers and things. So now that I have that, I can actually go back in and click my shapes tab, click my florals, and I can actually put like this one and make that in the center. If I wanted to have a little bit of something there. And again, I can center everything to make sure everything lines up. And then I can go back in again and take my candle wicking. I can copy it and paste it. Wrong button. And then make that one bigger. Change the color so it looks different than what else I had going on. And I can change the type of the stitch. So again, it doesn't have to be crazy. Maybe I want my outside to be just a simple line. I don't want anything, So you can just keep layering and building until you get the look that you want. So this is very, very easy. Now, what if I have, say, a 7x12 machine and I want to make a charger?
It's going to be bigger than 7x12.
It's going to be bigger than 7x12. What do I do?
Right.
This software also has built-in splitting capability, which is pretty dang slick.
It is.
So if I wanted to change my design settings, so let's just say we're going to go into 7x12. And this is still not big enough, right? Even if I make this as fill my hoop, it's still going to be 7 inches wide. My plates, that's not going to work.
Right.
So what do? I need to split. So I need a hoop that's actually larger.
Right.
So I need like that 14x14 hoop.
Right.
But it has to be 12x12 because my biggest field
is
12. So I can come in here and I can go to the design settings. And I really should have done this before we went live because it's been a hot second before I did this. And I can go to the custom size. So what sections do you want for that? And let's see. I think I want to go back here for a second. So let's just do 10.5 by 10.5 because it's there and I don't have to create anything funky.
And math is easy.
Math is easy, right? So I can say I want my custom pieces, all right? I want that to be, because these are just drop downs. I don't have to do math or anything. So there's my 7x12. So I can fit that split in there and I can have that's not what I thought it was going to do. Hang on, hold please. That's not where I wanted you to go. Oh, I see. So there's your 12x12. I was trying to avoid having you guys watch me click buttons, but so there's my 12x12 hoop, and I want 7x12 to be my field. So I have split in the middle there. So I can basically take and select everything. Let's click here, select all objects. All right. And I can make that fit because this is now a 12x12 field. Okay. A little too big. I got exuberant. And it will split the design for me. So when I go to the machine, I'll have half. I rehoop. So I have a big piece of fabric.
Right.
It could be quilted. It could be a layer already there. So all I have to do is bind it when I'm done.
Right.
And I can, of course, add as much as I would like to in there as well. So it's very straightforward to actually split a design. If you are in that 14 by 14 hoop for that 10 needle we talked about briefly before, I'm going to do that real quick. So if any of you out there are lucky enough to have a multi-needle and have that 14 by 14 hoop, all right, so you can see that that's a big dog, right? And what happens is it automatically splits for you because that's how that hoop actually works.
Designed, yeah.
It's designed to have a split. So you stitch a 7.5-ish by 14, and then you flip it and you do it again.
Right.
So it will automatically split for you if you have that. If you don't have that, you tell it how big you want your finished design to be, and then how many splits that you want. So you can have smaller sections, and maybe I only have a 5 by 7 hoop. Well, you can tell it 5 by 7 is what I want my split to be, and it will then go through and break that apart for you so that you can multi-hoop, and it gives you everything that you need. And it literally gives you a design that has 4 designs underneath of it. So it's kind of like a folder, but it doesn't look like a folder. It only looks like one design until you get to your machine.
Right. And then it gives you markings for moving your fabrics and lining them up, because without that,
it's a little difficult. So it is such a fun thing. But again, you don't have to do it 14 by 14. You could do coasters. You could do
something that fits in your hoop.
Patches. You could do, all kinds of things that do fit in your hoop with the circular floral feature.
Right.
You don't have to do the big thing. But that was just why I got in there and started playing with it in the first place. I have had a ton of fun finding different motif stitches and what they look like and having some fun with that.
And does the spirograph shape thing only work with circles?
That's a great question. I've only tried it with circles. Let's try to blow everything up. What do you say?
Let's try it.
We'll just leave this hoop on. Who cares? So let's do that square just because it's simple, right? And it does work with other shapes.
How
Look
cool
at
is that?
So you could have square chargers.
Right?
This one actually looks really cool.
Right.
I like that a lot.
Like a pocket or something?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
So again, you have to have the shape to get to that menu. But if I don't like, I can select that guy and I can get rid of it. And I only have the quilty parts there.
That's really cool.
So I was speaking with a customer the other day, and she was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know I had that. And I almost just bought that. She said it was over $40 to buy. And those are specific. You can't manipulate them. You get what you get.
What you get, yeah.
So this is a huge value that's just, again, it's a hidden gem. It's a little thing that's in there. All right, so now you got me wanting to
try a bunch of different shapes.
Try a bunch of different shapes. So let's try, what do you want, a star?
Yeah.
Let's do a star. So we've got our star. You need to be bigger. And let's change your color so that we can tell that you're different than the guy behind you. And let's look at that. Those are cool. Which one do you like? This one's kind of...
That's kind of cool. Yeah.
Boom. I mean, how much fun?
Yeah.
And like I said, total hidden. I mean, floral. Does that say floral to you?
No.
It does not say floral to me. So if I was just looking at this and I'm clicking through, I'm certainly not going to be like, oh yeah, I want to make a flower, and that's what I want my flower to look like. I bet there's a flower outline somewhere that we could make a flower with.
Right.
But again, very, very fun and super simple. It is really cool. Do we want to show the couple things we've got? Yeah. We just have our big camera here in front of us, but cool. Dun, dun, dun. So this was done in that 14 by 14 hoop. So was that one. That one was done with neon on this one. I can't even hang up on them. They hung up on themselves before I could do it. So this one is multiple different florals, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 different circles that I put in there with all had different stitches. This one had one of the florals and then multiple, 3 different ones. And again, those were more neon, so it was a little bit brighter. But again, very simple and very straightforward.
Yeah.
So
really easy to do.
That's the wonderful thing. So how do you actually get this to your machine? You would go up to that flower in the upper left-hand corner and you hit Save As. you can change. So if you have an older machine, depending upon what version software that you're working in, you can save it in an older version. So if you have PE, I can, sure. I go up to the flower in the upper left-hand corner, and then I go to Save As. What that's going to do is pop up, where do I want to save it? Down here, I can go back to version 9. Why would I want to do that? If you have an older embroidery machine, it can't read version 11 files. It doesn't have the software capability to do so. So you would want an older version software file, and that's why you would want to do that. Outside of that, it matters not.
Yeah, I mean, the only other time that matters is if you have, you know, I know some of our customers have they have version 10 software on one computer and version 11 software on another computer. So if you were playing in your version 11 software and you saved it
in version
11, you wouldn't be able to open it on your version 10.
Very true point.
Because it's a newer version, but your 10s can open on 11. So that's the only reason is when you're working with something like she said that's a little bit older,
then you have the ability to have them merge and read.
Yes, and that's the important. You know, actually, I was gonna say both of us have 11, so it doesn't matter. But you know, if sometimes Lisa and I are working on files together, and we're back and forth.
We're trading something but Tucker works in 10.
Yes.
So, you know, if Tucker saved it and then we resaved it in 11, she wouldn't be able to open it in hers. So it does need to marry to whatever versions that you're running. So it is good to have that. It's going to default to whatever version your system is at. So if you're in 11, which I am, it defaults to 11 and vice versa for anything else.
Yeah, exactly.
I just name that whatever I want it to be. And again, it's going to save it as a PES file, as you see here.
Right.
And let's put that in.
And this is also an important thing. Lisa is actually deciding where she wants to save that design without just saying save.
Just save, and then you have no idea where it went, right?
Right.
So down the left-hand side, you have basically kind of quick buttons to get you to different sections. But you can actually click on that Save In tab, and this is like everything in your computer, and you can literally go through. So I actually want downloads, and then I can show you what the file looks like, is where I was going with that. But you could go to your desktop, you could go to your embroidery folder and save it in your embroidery, whatever.
Wherever.
I created folder in your embroidery folder or whatever. So I'm going to just put it in downloads right now. You can find downloads in other ways. So if I were to go to home, there's a download right there. I could go to this PC and find. So there's more than one way to get in the different places, but just know where you're putting it.
Yes.
Because if you have a USB plugged in, you can save directly to the USB if you want. I don't generally. I like to have the hard copy of something on my computer, and then I copy it to a USB when I go to stitch that. So I said downloads like 14 times now. And we're going to just click save. So I have no idea what my computer is going to do here. You never know how many folders that I have open. All right, this one looks pretty safe. Let's click on that. All right, and in my downloads, I've got all of these things. So this is actually one that I stitched the other day. This is the test that we just did. So I do have viewing software on my computer. I have more than one type, I think, but PE and Palette actually have viewing software built in. So if what you see is just a white thing like this, you don't have viewing software. Isn't it nice to be able to actually see your design and know, hey, that's the one I want?
And if the only thing that you can see is the little icon of the software, the little view tab at the top, you just need to make your pictures bigger. So it has to be a large or extra large icon.
So here
when they're too small, it doesn't show you anything.
Small icon, I just have the flower and the name. If I go to medium icon, it's not as easy to tell what it is, but I can still see it. So if you are on small icon, it's not going to show you the picture. There's not enough room for it.
Yeah.
Yep. But you can see all of the different pictures. I've got lots of different files. A lot of them are in zips in here, but you can see what you're trying to work with instead of just saying, now what did I call that?
Right.
And maybe you saved 4. And you don't know what you called anything without being
Right.
able to see it. You know, I always jokingly, when we're talking about viewing software, I'm like, you know, how many heart files do you have? And it might say heart in the name, or it might even just say Q124,
Right.
which
You
is
don't
even
know.
worse. But
Yep.
which heart do you want?
Right.
Well, if you can't see it,
How
how
do
are
you
you
know?
supposed to know? So if you have PE, I want to say it was 10 that had the viewing software first. So the 10 or 11 will have that background. It just loads it into the background. It's not like a program you click and tell it to run.
Right.
It's just an auto thing in the background of your computer. And it's a wonderful thing. One of the other really fun little, it's not really a cheat, but you can load this on as many computers as you want. So you can load that viewing software on all of your computers, even though if you aren't editing on all of your computers, you can load that so that you can see everything on all of them.
Right.
And then whichever one you have the dongle plugged into is the one that you're actually stitching and creating those on, and that you can open the program. But you don't have to have the dongle plugged in for that feature to be active, which is kind of a nice little cheat. You know, we load it on all of the computers, even though we don't design on all of the computers. We certainly need to be able to look and see everything on every computer we have in here. So it's a nice little.
It is a very nice.
Because to
easy
buy
cheat.
viewing software, it's like $80.
Yeah. So you're saving yourself $80.
I mean, if that's the only thing that you need. So for sure, it's a very cool thing. So.
Yep. Okay.
I want to go to the beach.
Right. I want to go where it's warm.
I would love some warmth
We
right
could
now.
live stream from the beach.
We totally could. We just got to get there. So, top of the line machines have started coming in and started going back out. So if you are on the list, hopefully we'll be giving you a call in the next couple weeks. I haven't gotten a shipper, so it's not going to be this week for sure.
Right.
But we do have more coming, and they're supposedly prepping all of that kind of stuff for round 2.
Round 2.
So hopefully we'll be seeing that. If you did get your machine from us, we do have your rolling, let me rephrase that. If you got your brother, we have those bundles in now. So the rolling bag bundle is here. So if you are waiting on that, we do have that for you. They just got delivered.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It is all right. So software can be so much fun. Don't let it scare you. The worst thing, if you get, just close the program and reopen it. You have no idea what I just did.
Yeah.
It's okay. Don't worry about it. It's no stress. Have some fun. Push the buttons. That's the only way you really find, I mean, like, you just found out I'd never tried putting in another shape because I had circles on the brain and that's what I needed to do. But look at how much fun you can have with other shapes too. So I can have.
She's going down the rabbit hole.
I'm going down a rabbit hole now. So I've been putting these things for way too long, and it's been. I keep thinking I want it to be bigger, so I wait till the next machine comes out, so I have a bigger hoop. Well, I have a 14 by 14 hoop, so I have access to a 14 by 14 hoop.
Right.
And I have a machine that can stitch on it.
You
so.
do. You do.
Fun.
Yes. So I think next week we could do importing fonts and play with fonts. And so we'll do a little software play. And if you guys open your software and play around with this week and you have questions,
you can ask us those questions.
So, as well.
And I have a couple different softwares, so we can show you that different softwares look, what you do in them. We can do the same word in everything and show how that happens.
But honestly, once you install the font on your computer, it
will
doesn't
show
matter
up.
how many softwares you have.
No, but I can tell you, very ashamedly, you can't have too many fonts on your computer. It makes it not run. It goes to open the program and it's like, I can't load that many fonts into here. It goes, ow, and it just says, nope. So I have had to delete quite a few, but there's many more I could delete, but why? I might want that one.
Want that one time.
Just never know.
I know. It's so hard. It's like nice to have choices.
Yeah. Yes, it is nice to have choices. But it's not necessary to have 5 that look exactly the same.
That's right. It's true. Let's see. I have the Kimberbell Rewind event. We have one seat left. It's next week, Friday. the 17th, and then on Tuesday, the 21st, I have a jelly roll rug class. So we have a really great deal on the jelly roll rug class still, and there's still spaces. We're going to do in person in the morning from 10 until noon, and then from 2 to 4 online. So you got two options. We will make a small little mug rug style jelly roll rug in class. That way you can learn
all of the steps.
How to put your pieces together,
how to start.
Yep, how to sew everything together, and then how to start it, how to make sure it's flat, and how to turn, and how to end.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you just spend, the first time I taught it, we did everything, and it was like hours of just sewing strips together, which I was
like a little tiring after a little bit.
Well, I mean, and it's just repetitive.
Once you get
sewing.
Once you get started, you just need to know how to finish.
Right. I felt like we didn't really get to the meat of the stuff.
For sure.
And
no,
so
that worked really well.
Worked better.
You've done that before, and it's been very well reviewed. And this is a great way to learn.
It is. And there's a brand new tool out that I'm excited. It's the Clover Tube Maker, and it's the best one so far. So this is the third tool that I've tried.
Maybe I'll have to get a new one.
Yeah.
I have my strips all laid out. And,
yep.
I need to actually
Yeah.
do that. It's on that list. Yeah.
The cats love the jelly roll rugs.
Bet.
They I have a bunch of them at the house now. So I started with one, and I have a couple in the RV, and they really wash and wear really well. I was surprised. I didn't think they would wash and wear that well, but they've held up to.
I think it's funny because I have absolutely no idea where I'm going to put this one that I've got, but I love the colors, and I'm like,
who cares?
I don't know. Maybe it'll go in my kitchen, like in front of my sink, because I just have tile there, so that would be good.
Good place for it. Yep.
But I'm excited. It's a great class, and we've got a few other classes in prep. So we hopefully will get a good calendar going, and then of course top of the line classes as soon as we have a machine here we can use. Right now we're giving them to you guys, so we don't have one to play with. So a little hard to prep a class when we don't have a machine. So as soon as we have that, then we'll get that rolling too. So
all right,
awesome. Thanks for hanging. Happy New Year to everyone. I hope you all had a wonderful holiday. Stay warm wherever you are. Stay not burnt, and stay stay dry. All of those
dry.
Good things. So many things out there that are happening right now.
Stay out of the heat. Stay out of the ice. Play with your software.
Play with your software. Come with questions next week if you have any for font related items, no matter what the, I shouldn't say that because there are softwares we don't cover, but if you have Dime or Floriani or Brother Babylock softwares, come with your questions.
Yes.
Otherwise I won't be able to answer them.
We'll be making it up.
We'll be making it up as we go.
That's
right. All right. Thanks. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.